We're talking football today on Locked On Blue Devils. What a fun show it's going to be. We're going to fill in the blank. That's right. I've got a statement. There's a blank there. What do you want to put in its spot to make a complete statement regarding Duke football? Joining me for the fun today, my good buddy Josh Cox from Duke Football Talks Section 17 podcast. Let's go.
Dick Vitale, hey, make sure you listen, man, to Locked On Blue Devils with JJ Jackson. He's awesome, baby.
You are Locked On Blue Devils, your daily podcast on the Duke Blue Devils, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, everybody, and welcome into another edition of the Locked On Blue Devils podcast. My name is JJ Jackson, and it is so great to have you here with us on today's show. If you haven't done so already, please be sure to follow and subscribe to Locked On Blue Devils on your favorite podcast platform. Leave us a 5-star rating and review. It means the world when you do that. If you're watching us on YouTube, thank you. Be sure to subscribe on YouTube as well. We're on the climb to 500 subscribers. What a big milestone that's going to be for the podcast. Thank you so much for your support on YouTube. Coming up on today's show, I'm so thrilled to be alongside my good buddy, Josh Cox from Duke Football Talks Section 17 podcast. Yesterday's show, we predicted the Duke men's basketball stat leaders. Coming up on today's show, we're going to fill in the blanks. I'm going to provide a statement for Duke football. There's a blank there. Put a word, put a player, put a coach in that spot. Pretty simple. You ready to rock and roll today, Josh?
Yeah, and by the way, just for the listeners that are football fans, next week we'll be releasing our season prediction for football, and JJ is going to be with us next week as we talk about who we feel like is going to lead Duke football in stats and things of that nature. And so I was on here yesterday with basketball. He'll be on ours next week for football.
Can't wait. Can't wait. You can find, again, the Section 17 podcast. Spell it out. Section 17 podcast, wherever you get your podcast, and it'll pop up right there. All right. Let's get to it. Duke football got a few statements here that we're going to run through, and we're going to fill in the blanks for Duke football. Duke surpasses Mike Elko's first-year expectations if blank.
I believe two answers here equal the same thing, and so I'll give them both to you. We have more than one ACC win, and then we make a bowl game. Okay. So I believe, and this question, the statement could be taken a couple of different directions, right? Are we talking about Mike Elko's expectations for himself and for the Duke football team? Are we talking about the fan base's expectations for Mike Elko's first season? Administrations? There's a lot of ways to look at it, but I believe that all three of those people, Mike Elko, the fan base, and the administration, would be overjoyed with 2 ACC victories. And they'd be overjoyed with the possibility of a berth in a bowl game. And so, you look at the non-conference schedule, and I know we're going to talk a little bit about that here in a second. You look at that, and there are 4 winnable games in non-conference. Doesn't necessarily mean we're going to win every one of them. But if we were to win every one of them, we go into the ACC season needing 2 victories to secure a bowl game. And so I believe those would be successes. Now, when the gun gets put to my head next week and I have to give the actual win-loss prediction for the season, I'm not going to share with you what my answer is going to be. But that answer may not reflect what I just said here. But once again, we're talking about surpassing expectations. And so I believe the fan base, because sometimes the fan base can be a little illogical in all teams, right? All teams' fan bases can. But I believe we have to understand, the transition, the turnover that took place, not only on the coaching staff, but on the roster. And we were bad. I mean, we lost 17 out of 18 ACC games to finish out David Cutcliffe's career at Duke. So this is not like a team that was right there. I mean, we were not competitive. This is 48-0 against Virginia. This is getting blown out by Louisville. This is getting blown out, pretty much every ACC game last year. So all that to say, I believe fans, administration, and Coach Elko himself would surpass expectations if we made it to a bowl game. And if we did, that means we have to at least win 2 ACC games.
I like that. I'm in agreement there. Bowl game for sure. 2 ACC wins is awesome. Duke surpasses Mike Elko's first-year expectations. If blank, I want to throw in as well, if there is constant energy throughout the season. And what I mean by energy is if you go back to last week's show here on Locked On Blue Devils, Josh, you and I took time to go through week by week talking about the schedule for Duke football. And we threw out a couple of results from Duke against ACC teams over the last few years, and the score wasn't close. And so I don't know that there has to be a number there, like if Duke stays within 2 touchdowns in every single ACC game. But if you can maintain a level of energy and maintain a level of excitement, given that it is year one, given that you are building towards something, I think you surpass any expectation that there is possible. Yesterday, we talked about how excited basketball season is and how in November, where is our attention going to be divided? If we're still really engaged and really focused on Duke football as we go towards that final week of the season, knowing that Duke during Feast Week is going to be playing an amazing Phil Knight Legacy event tournament in Oregon, like that's, I think, where we've officially surpassed all those expectations.
Yeah, and I mean, November is the toughest month on the schedule for Duke football as well. And so all of those things combined, as you said, if we have energy in November, then that's a good thing. And even if we're losing football games, if we're competitive and we know going into the fourth quarter we have a chance to win and we fall short for whatever variety of reasons, if Mike Elko can get and talk to the players after the game and say, listen, we gave our best out there and we did our best and there's energy, you're exactly right.
Yeah.
I mean, that's really what we want.
In culture over the last 3-5 years, I think energy has become such a trendy word that we kind of just throw out there. And so here I am, of course, throwing it in there. But I think it's important. I think it'd be big for Duke if they were able to do that. All right, let's move on. The most important position battle other than quarterback is blank.
This was a tough one for me, but I'm going to go defensive back.
Okay.
I'm going to go defensive back. I was going to talk about a little bit about the offensive line here, but I'm going to save that for another question. DB, you have Joshua Pickett, who's coming back for his second season, and as we're at practices, you see a lot of Josh Pickett. You have true freshman Chandler Rivers that we see a whole lot of, and he's built different, man. He does not look like a true freshman out there, both in the way his physique and in the way he plays. I mean, he's solid. You've got Tony Davis, a junior, who was highly recruited, 4-star guy, if I'm not mistaken, and never really has panned out. He tweaked an injury last week, but nothing that kept him out. He was back at practice the next day. You're seeing a lot of Tony Davis, and then Detrone Young, Speedy Young, the transfer from Iowa State. Those are really the 4 guys that you're seeing. And I'll be honest with you, I'm not sure who's going to win those battles. I don't believe Speedy Young came to Duke to sit on the bench. So I think Speedy's going to get that nod. And then if you're going to go, I don't know, maybe Tony Davis as far as physically, but I mean, you're going to see the rotation, right? And then, of course, I believe in the safeties. If we run those 3 safeties, it's going to be Jalen Stinson, Daquan Johnson, and another transfer, Darius Joyner, taking up those safety spots. But I do think the DB battle is going to be very, very interesting.
Yeah, and also the way we looked at this question, I'm going to agree with DBs as well. Most important position battle for Duke football.
Yeah.
Look, the secondary has got to be there. This defensive front is going to do everything it can possible. Dwayne Carter is going to be leading the way, trying to pressure the quarterback, trying to make errant decisions for that quarterback. The DBs have to be in a great spot. And there are so many names, like you're saying, out there. Who's going to emerge? We're not necessarily getting into those predictions, but I do think defending the pass, making sure that you're competitive defensively on that end is so important. And so I'm going to agree with you there on that one, Josh.
Yeah, I think it's important too, because last year we didn't get pressure on the quarterback. And when you don't get pressure on the quarterback, it just exposes the back end of your defense, right? And so that didn't help. I do think, as you mentioned, with Dwayne Carter, VJ Anthony, Aeneas Peebles, Jamion Franklin, Michael Reese, RJ Oben, all these, the
Yeah.
D line, I think is going to be pretty solid this year. And so I could see them helping out the secondary a little bit, which would be a good thing.
We've got a couple of more. Fill in the blank Duke football version. We'll go to our next couple after this timeout here on Locked On Blue Devils. Locked On Blue Devils today is brought to you by Built Bar. If you haven't tried Built Bar Puffs yet, you are depriving yourself of one of life's greatest joys. And guess what? There is a brand new flavor that's really delicious. It's covered in chocolate. It's the cookie dough flavor. That's right. Let me introduce you to what's going to be your new favorite, cookie dough chunk puffs. Have a light and chewy texture, real cookie dough chunks, and of course, they're covered in 100% real chocolate. All of the joys of eating cookie dough without the hassle of making it. Plus, it's healthy for you. Cookie dough chunk puffs are only 160 calories, and they have a whopping 15 grams of protein in there. Run to Built.com to snag a box for you and your family today. Again, covered in 100% real chocolate. That means they're healthy and tasty. Go to Built.com, use promo code LOCKED15, LOCKED15, and get 15% off your order. Promo code LOCKED15, LOCKED15. All right, welcome back into Locked On Blue Devils. JJ Jackson alongside my buddy Josh Cox from Duke Football Talks Section 17 podcast. Let's keep it moving. The toughest non-conference game for Duke is blank.
Well, it's obviously down. I believe it's down to 2
Yeah.
to choose from here. I'm going Kansas at Kansas. I believe that's going to be a very difficult game. They're a much improved team from when we played them last year. Northwestern was not good last year. I feel like we are more familiar with Northwestern. And even if we lose that Northwestern game, I still think the toughest is going to be Kansas. I think there's going to be some mental hurdles. If we happen to go into that Kansas game 3-0, I think there's going to be a little bit of pressure on the team, knowing that, hey, if we want to make a bowl game this year, we really do need to go 4-0 in non-conference. So there's going to be some pressure. And so I'm nervous about the Kansas game. They got a good offense, and we'll see. So, and Lance Leipold has done a great job and is doing a great job there. Nothing against Fitzgerald, nothing against Northwestern. But I'm going Kansas as our toughest non-conference game.
Yeah, you got 4 options here. You got Temple and North Carolina A&T at home. You got Kansas and Northwestern on the road. Toughest for a program like Duke. It is difficult to play away from Wallace Wade Stadium, and I think Kansas is going to be a really tough and competitive game for Duke this season. So I'm going to agree with you there. I'm going Jayhawks on that one too. The most exciting Duke offensive player over the last decade is blank. Again, I didn't say it was all 2022 football topics today on the program. So let's talk about this one. The most exciting Duke offensive player over the last decade is who, Josh Cox?
I'm going Jamison Crowder. Graduated in 2015, I believe, 2014. So definitely makes it in. He's an elder statesman of the decade. But when I think, honestly, my favorite all-time Duke football player is Jamison Crowder. And so I believe he's the most electric. He was the most exciting. It's not just that catch, right, that he's so famous for, even though that was an incredible catch. There were just multiple highlights throughout his time at Duke, just the electricity that he brought to the field. In fact, since then, we have compared the next guys to him, right? It's been TJ Roming. Oh, he's going to be the next Jamison Crowder. Jalen Calhoun. Oh, he's going to be the next Jamison Crowder, right? So we've almost put that on guys. Like, he's the standard for offensive firepower at Duke. And so my number one most exciting Duke offensive player of the last decade is Jamison Crowder. I know there's another guy that could be number one here, but I'm going with Crowder.
Yeah, Crowder is outstanding, and I think ultimately I am going to agree with you on Crowder here. You look at the offensive player, quarterback is something that a lot of people want to talk about, and so Daniel Jones was certainly great. But it's just, I think it's a different level of excitement when you talk about a player who's not the quarterback, who has to do something to get the football and elicit an exciting reaction. I think your defense of Crowder as well, how after he's left the program, you're looking for that next guy, just adds to your case. Like, clearly this guy was so exciting. we're looking for the next version of him. I'm curious if we fast forward 6, 7 years, if we're saying the same things about Mateo Durant at the
Right.
running back spot, because
Yep.
man, this is of course recency bias, and so we can't talk about the next Mateo Durant and a couple of names that were out there because again, we haven't even played a football game yet since he left the program and started his professional career. But I would not be surprised at all if we have those same thoughts about Mateo Durant here in a few seasons.
Yeah, I mean, you have to put the guy who broke the single season rushing record. He's got to be in the conversation. He's got to be. I was actually also thinking. I mean, I know it's his offensive player, and you don't have a question on here about defensive player, but like, just shout out Devon Edwards. That's all I'm gonna say.
Yeah.
Shout out Devon Edwards. Extremely exciting player, undersized. You know what I mean? Like a lot of things going against him, and my man had a knack for getting to the football, getting interceptions, and he was a great kick returner, punt returner. But I know you didn't ask for defense.
Yeah.
I was just throwing that out there.
Or say, we could throw defense out there. I'm creating content, Josh.
That's
I'm bringing
good.
folks back for another. When we do this a second time around, you'll hear my defensive player, most
There you
exciting
go.
defensive player of the last decade. All right, next up, the most talented position group in 2022 is blank.
This is a good one, man. I'm gonna mesh two groups together because they basically do the same thing. I'm gonna go with our offensive line and our tight ends. That line, okay? I'm bringing that together because, I am all in on Nicky Dalmolin this year.
You do realize you just created a new position group.
I did.
In
It's the people on the line there, right
The
there.
history of the sport of football, Josh Cox just created a new position group.
Okay, if I have to choose between those two, I'm gonna go.
Stick to your guns, man. Stick to your guns.
I am all in on Nicky Dalmolin, a guy that gains 22 pounds. And unofficially, we've heard some reports of some speed that he's been clocked at.
Yeah.
Like that is beating wideouts and beating DBs in speed. And he's gained 22 pounds. I'm just looking forward to seeing him and Finney and Kate Anders, all those guys. But offensive line. Not only are we returning the bulk of our offensive line, and no pun intended, but we're returning the bulk of our offensive line. Shout out Jack Wallaba. Hope you enjoy your retirement, all that stuff. But we got in 3 transfers
right
on the offensive line who are pushing. They're pushing guys.
Yeah.
And we've even seen this, and I think I can talk about this because there was an open practice on Sunday. So and people saw this. Jacob Monk has moved over to center. And that has opened up that right guard spot. Looks like Chance Lytle and others are getting a lot of looks there at right guard. And I believe I don't believe it's anything against Addison Penn and Brian Foley. I believe at the end of the day, it was just they want to put the best 5 guys in that first unit. Yeah. And it just so happens in order for that to happen, you needed to move Jacob Monk over. And so our offensive line is, Jalot, Graham Barton, you know what I mean? Like Jacob Monk. Like we could just go down the list. McIntyre, I think they're going to be really solid. And here's the good thing. We're obviously breaking in like a new running back kind of room a little bit. Jordan Waters has been there, but the rest of the guys, a new running back room, obviously a new quarterback, a new scheme.
Right.
Everything's brand new. And what could really hold you together is time.
Yep.
And the quarterback needs time. The receivers need time to get open. Running backs need space. That all centers on the offensive line. And so they're our most talented position group. I'm going with them being the most stable group. And I think they're going to have to lead us if we're going to be successful.
I'm going to go offensive line too for all the reasons you just laid out there. And I'll take a time to shout out Chance Lytle because you talk about talent. The internet is absolutely loving the opera singing that we're seeing from him. He's interacting on Twitter with the Section 17 podcast. Guys, again, go follow you and your team, Josh, at Duke FB Talk on Twitter. We're talking talent in more ways than just on the field. And, man, what a group that was. And, again, shout out to Chance Lytle.
Yeah, no doubt. Those vocal cords, man, talented. Some talented vocal cords for sure.
All right, here we go. That's great. The biggest question mark of Duke football in 2022 is blank.
Man, so I have 2 answers to this. I'm not going to do it. I'm not giving them both. The biggest question mark, Everyone is probably expecting me to say one thing. I'm going to stick with my guns in the secondary. It's the biggest question mark.
Okay.
Absolute biggest question mark. I don't know what's going to be. I don't know what the two deep is going to look like, especially with the safeties.
Right.
You got guys like Isaiah Fisher-Smith, Cam Bergeron, who plays a little bit of both DB and safety. Guys like that. And then there's some new guys, some young guys that have come in. But I believe that secondary is the biggest question mark. And if the secondary is as bad as it has been over the last couple of seasons, we gave up over 500 yards a game last year, and that just can't happen. And so that's my biggest question mark. When you lose 11 players from that room, from last year's team, what's going to take place there?
Yeah.
So I know you may have a different answer, and I respect the other answer, but I think the question mark is the secondary.
Is your second answer quarterback?
Absolutely.
Okay.
But the reason why it's not the biggest question mark,
I'm going quarterback. Quarterback. Tell me why you think it's not the biggest question mark.
Because at the end of the day, listen, let me spare Duke fans all the drama, okay? They're both going to play. At the end of the day, listen, we're this far into fall camp. We just had an open practice where anybody who wanted to could come watch what was going on. Those guys are 50-50 splitting time with the ones and the twos. It's not going to be like, it will not be Riley Leonard wins the starting job and we never see Jordan Moore except for like once a half. No, it's going to be, if Riley Leonard happens to win the starting job, we're going to see Jordan Moore like every third series, or we're going to see Jordan Moore on the field with Riley Leonard in a lot of packages. Or if Jordan Moore wins the starting job, we're going to see Riley every third series. I don't think it's going to be that big, huge disparity. Now, here's where the question mark comes in with quarterback, and that is if either one of those guys tweaks an injury, then we go into a lot more question marks, because you have Henry Beelan coming up behind them, who looks really good, but he's a true freshman. Doesn't, obviously he's got to get acclimated to college football.
Right.
Got to really zero in on his accuracy with passing the ball. But that's why the question mark to me is more, can we defend the pass, as opposed to, look, we're gonna have two quarterbacks and they're gonna rotate. It just depends on who's going to be the 2/3 guy, who's going to be the 1/3 guy.
All right, here we are. Locked On Blue Devils, taking a look at fill in the blanks for Duke football. Let's take a quick timeout and we wrap up our discussion next here on the program. Locked On Blue Devils here today on Thursday, August 11th. Make your second listen of the day, Locked On ACC, by taking a look at it. Everyday host Candace Cooper and the local experts like myself of Locked On take you across the conference in 30 minutes. Make Locked On ACC your second listen of the day. And also, for my North Carolina listeners, shout out to Julian Council and what he's doing for Locked On Panthers. I'm a big Panthers fan myself. Baker Mayfield, Sam Darnold. We've got a quarterback battle there for the Panthers as well as the Duke Blue Devils, like we've been talking about. So go listen to Locked On Panthers today, too. Final few moments here on today's edition of Locked On Blue Devils. JJ Jackson alongside Josh Cox from Duke Football Talks Section 17 podcast. If you're watching us on YouTube, please subscribe. We are getting so much closer to 500 subscribers. Josh was with us at the very start, our very first guest on the YouTube version of the podcast. And so to know that we're so close to 500 is unbelievable, the support that we've gotten. And if you're also watching us on YouTube, I'm sporting a Bleed Blue Section 17 podcast shirt. Tell folks about the shirt and then also just the journey we've had on YouTube here, Josh.
Yeah, so the shirt's super soft, man. It's a soft style shirt, comfortable, fits true to size, and that's the mantra, Bleed Blue, right? And by the way, Duke fans, it's no longer Duke Gang. All right, a couple things about Duke Gang. That was football only, and it was the David Cutcliffe football era. So, just newsflash, internally, Duke Gang is 100% phased out from football. So just FYI, they got rid of all the Duke Gang stuff.
Right.
Anything on the walls that was Duke Gang's gone. It's Bleed Blue. So that's it. So pick up your Bleed Blue. What you can do is go to @DukeFB Talk. You can look at our timeline and see it there, but then you can DM us and we'll get you all the information that you need to get one. And then, the journey on YouTube. Let me just say this, work the system, guys. All of you have more than one Google login. You have a couple of different Gmails. Like, make sure you log in to all of your Gmails and then go to like this thing, because here's the deal. JJ
Thank you
would
for
agree with
that,
this.
man.
Hey, listen, I'll say it.
Thank
You
you.
don't listen. It's not 500. The goal is to get over 1,000, right? So 500 is the step.
Absolutely.
The 500 is a step. The target is 1,000. And so if everybody can do that, get them there. We're going to be launching on YouTube, but not until next season. And so we'll be pushing like crazy when we get there. But YouTube is a whole new world. And if you're watching this morning on YouTube, we appreciate you watching for sure.
Absolutely. All right, we got a few more here. Fill in the blanks on Locked On Blue Devils today. Let's do a couple of more. The fondest memory of the David Cutcliffe era is blank. I want to switch this up. How about my fondest memory of the David Cutcliffe era is blank? Because I think it's fair for this one to be a little bit more personal. So you go, and then I'll go, Josh.
Yeah, there are a lot of options here. And maybe after you give yours, we could talk about what the other options could have been.
Yeah.
Mine is going to be the 2013 ChickfilA Bowl against Texas A&M in Atlanta. I was at the time living in Baltimore, Maryland, and I took the trip all the way down to Atlanta. Actually, Scott and Jamie at the time, who are also two of our hosts on the Section 17 podcast, we were already hanging out, already doing stuff together. We went down there together, and we had really good seats, about 13, I think, rows up in the end zone. And we watched us play our hearts out, man. And shout out Anthony Boone, and shout out, Jamison Crowder, shout out all those guys for just an incredible game. And I remember going into halftime up 21 thinking, man, we're not going to be able to stop them, but I don't think they can stop us either. So we're going to win this game because they're not going to be able to stop us 3 times. And sure enough, they did. And all due respect to Mike Evans and Johnny Manziel and others that played on that team. But that was, to me, my fondest memory. What it did, it put Duke football legitimately on the map.
Yeah.
If you noticed, I think of the DeAndre Singleton, Dylan Singleton, Georgia became a recruiting hotbed for Duke. And still to this day, we've continued in Georgia. But for those couple of years after 2013, man, we really pumped players through Georgia. And I believe it was because we did so well in that game. And people at the end of the night, I mean, Manziel is giving us shout outs on Twitter. And you know what I'm saying? It was just a really good time, even in a loss. I know that's classic Duke football for the best thing to be a loss. But it was incredible to be out there to experience the game. I mean, you had Texas A&M fans come up to us after the game like, man, you guys should have won that game. Like, we did not deserve to win this. So that's what I'm going with, 2013 ChickfilA Bowl.
Yeah, I'm going to go the exact same. It's Johnny football, man. And that team was really special and really good. And for Duke to get a win like that on a stage like that, New Year's era, it's like you want to play in those bowl games. And Duke was able to do that after competing in the ACC championship football game that season. To then go on and have such a dominant bowl game performance was absolutely epic. My fondest memory of the David Cutcliffe era is blank, and that's what we just answered. I think beating UNC 3 years in a row was pretty awesome to sit there and think about. What were other things in your mind?
Yeah, so obviously the Jamison Crowder catch to send us to our first bowl game was really, really important. I think the Chaz Surratt two-handed interception to Brian Fields, returning it for a touchdown was a special moment. I'm trying to think. I think the Thad Lewis game, NC State, where he threw for like 500 some yards and like broke a bunch of records. That was early on. I think the first or second year of the Cutcliffe era. That was a big, a major ordeal. And then I think the Pinstripe Bowl, Indiana getting that bowl victory was huge as well. Like in Yankee Stadium, I still don't know if that field goal was good or not at the end there, but we're going to say it was no good because we got the win.
Yeah.
But those were just some big highlights for sure.
I love it. All right, we got 2 more here. I'm going to throw them both at you, Josh. I'm a little long on time, so take both of these for me. Duke beats UNC this year if blank, and then Duke's best player in 2022 is blank.
All right, Duke beats UNC this year if Josh Downs does not play in the game.
Wow.
That's all. That's what I'm going to say. Because hear me out. I
What
know
a
they have a
wide receiver. Yeah.
I know they have a quarterback issue that they got to figure out. That's
Right.
fine. But that guy is so dominant and he
Yeah.
gets so
He's
many
really
looks.
good.
And what did we just talk about 7 minutes ago?
Yeah.
Our biggest question mark, the secondary.
Right. And the most important position battle, the secondary.
Secondary.
Yeah.
So, like, in my opinion, if Josh Downs is able to get out on that field and run around, it's going to be hard for us to win that game. Now,
Right.
if something happens, God forbid, but I'm saying if for any reason, suspension, injury, whatever, if he happens to not be available for that game for whatever reason, we have a good shot at winning that. Now, can we still win the game? Absolutely, we can still win that game. But I think our best bet of beating them is if their number one offensive threat is just MIA. So whatever that means. And secondly, Duke football's best player in 2022. Ooh, okay. I'm gonna give you one on the defense, one on the offense. I'm gonna go Shaka Hayward on the defense.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go Jalen Calhoun on the offense.
Okay.
So,
Best player for me in 2022. I'm going Shaka Hayward. Shout out what
Yeah.
that guy can do on the field, and man, he's so much fun to watch. And
so let me. You gotta answer the Duke
And
beats
then
UNC this year.
Duke, yeah, sorry. Duke beats UNC this year if I don't know that I'll be as harsh and say if Josh Downs doesn't play. And also, I want to point out that my fondest memory, something I brought up, beating UNC 3 years in a row. That's pretty remarkable.
That is.
I'm all for that. I'm going to say if Duke, I mean, I could cop out and just say if they take care of the football and give you cliche
Right.
football talk and that sort of thing. But I do think that dominating the line of scrimmage against a team like UNC always helps. That's going to be at a portion of the year where we already have a better idea of that offensive line. Like we're talking about, North Carolina has a totally revamped defensive front. Gene Chizik has returned, the former Auburn football head coach that won the national title with Cam Newton. He's been a defensive coordinator at North Carolina before with Mac Brown, also was his defensive coordinator at Texas. That defense has improved. And I think that Duke being dominant on the offensive side of the ball is going to be really important to drag out those football games, to take away the time of possession for North Carolina for them to throw the football to Josh. So there's not a cop-out answer for you. That's
my answer was so much simpler. My answer was so much simpler. Josh Downs at that point is like, you know what? I'm done for the season. I'm waiting. I'm going to go to the NFL. Whatever it is, like whatever happens, Josh Downs he decides to transfer mid-season, like whatever happens there. But or maybe he misses curfew. You know what I'm saying? Something. Just I'm not wishing anything bad on him. I'm just saying, like, if for some random reason Josh Downs does not suit up, So anyway, it's going to be a fun season, though, man.
There's been a lot of humor on today's edition of the program.
Yeah.
This has been fun.
For sure, man. I hope Duke fans are ready for football season. I know
we are.
With you being out of state, it's a little bit different. But like Duke fans that are in state, in the state of North Carolina, I want to encourage you. If you look at the ticket prices, if you're going to come to 2 games, you might as well get season tickets.
Yeah.
It just works out that way. And so, by the way, still have a promotion running with Duke Football Ticket Office. If you call in to get season tickets, ask for Christina. She's our rep. Let her know that you listened to the Section 17 podcast or you heard about it through that. We'll send you out a free shirt. So we've been doing that. Send out a free Bleed Blue shirt to people. Just trying to drum up some more people to get season tickets. So we've got a little partnership there with the ticket office. So
that's pretty awesome. All right, buddy. Hey, this has been an awesome show. I enjoyed filling in the blanks. We've got more blanks that we can do in the future.
Right.
And so, Josh, thanks for being on the show today.
22 days to kickoff. Thanks, JJ.
We're getting there. It is almost here, ladies and gentlemen. Duke football right around the corner. All right, that's going to do it for today's edition of Locked On Blue Devils. My name is JJ Jackson. If you haven't done so already, follow the show on Twitter at @LO_Blue Devils, and you can follow me on Twitter @_JJ_Jackson_. Be sure to follow and subscribe to this podcast for free wherever you get your podcasts. If you're watching us on YouTube, follow Josh's advice. I'd appreciate. Log into all the Google accounts you got out there. Press subscribe on YouTube. It really does help support this program. That's going to do it for today's show. As always, go Duke. I'll talk to you tomorrow. My name is JJ Jackson. Thank you and good day.